Joining me in the Kiwi studio now, though, a couple of members from the Harbour Union, Lyndon Puff and Al Park, joining me in the Kiwi studio. Good morning to you both.
Yeah, good morning, man.
And, yes, a very kind of croaky good morning.
Croaky morning.
It's an early morning morning for us.
Post Silver Scrolls, of course, you guys played at the Silver Scrolls last night.
Well, yeah, we opened the Silver Scrolls. We were lucky, honoured to be the group opening, and there was about 100,000 of us on stage for it too, because there's about that many people in the Harbour Union.
Yeah, well, tell me about the Harbour Union. Why, where, how, who, what?
Right, okay. Well, it's after the February quake, there was
the what?
After the there was a quake, and sorry, I assumed, let's go back to February the 22nd.
Yeah.
Let's revisit that moment again. I'd like to. I'd like to think about it. But there was, after that, and after the the kind of like I suppose the destruction heaped upon Littleton, where there was Adam McGrath from the Eastern came up with this idea of that we would all record a couple of songs for a Harbour Union album. And when I say all of us, there was the Eastern, there's Delaney Davidson, there's myself and the Puffin, there's Al Park who's over there, there's the Unfaithful Ways, the Tiny Lies, and the Runaround Sue.
Which is honestly such a good, honest Littleton name for the group, the Harbour Union.
The Harbour Union, yeah.
It couldn't have been anything else. So.
Well, I mean, so we decided we'd make this album, and then we would go out and we would present this kind of union, this kind of solidarity. Like we were, to go out and because we're raising some money as well, and it's and you just got to do what you can, because if there's a $20 billion rebuild or whatever it is, it keeps changing all the time.
Yeah.
Possibly your the money that you might raise, even if you were to raise a couple of million, it's not really that large. So
you got the bucket, huh?
I think the thing we're doing is raising some money that we can give to specific little things, like like little gap filler things, or
what we've donated to so far basically is two women who both totally lost their legs. One press building, one in the Pine Gold Guinness building. So we've targeted sort of like really special things. We've played gigs for them, and so that's basically the idea of the Harbour Union. But initially, that's all it was. We didn't actually expect to be playing too many shows, and so far we have played now quite a few shows.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, but not ever has the same group ever played same show.
Right.
I think only one person's played every show.
Yeah.
So that it truly is a union and a collective. And for last night, for instance, we didn't have Delaney or Adam, but we still have enough people to do real good shows, and that's what's been the beauty of it. So,
but a really a special opportunity to get like-minded musicians together, because you would say that you're all pretty like-minded and that you're on the same track with music and
yeah, there's definitely kind of like there's a folk kind of bluegrassy country thing that runs through the whole thing, and so I think that that's sort of it's kind of a bit of a Littleton sound, that kind of thing too, and it's Littleton itself is a great little community, so it's.
How's it feeling at the moment? How's Littleton now?
Well, there's a lot to rebuild. I mean, how it feels is there's absolutely no old buildings left in Littleton. Everything's come down. In the last week, I think they took the last one down. So, but it's amazing, like what has happened. You could think that we could all be down and out and suckered, but on the other hand, and especially just within the Harbour Union itself, the unity has been quite amazing. And for someone like me, who I've lost. I had a bar down, a live music venue called Al's Bar, where I've lost that. You could think that you could want to sit around and maybe be crying into your coffee, but the fact of the matter is it's been quite uplifting. Just the vibe of hanging out with all these people, and has been fantastic. So.
Is that because there's just so much to do as well? You can't really.
There's so much to do, and also I just think that everyone has sort of become unified, and some of the issues that may have been in the way before, for instance, taking the piss out of Puffin, isn't such a big deal anymore, because there's more important things to achieve. So it's been.
Thanks, man.
But what I wonder now, because having lived in Christchurch for 10 years, and also towards the end of that, living a chunk of time in Littleton, is there now a them and us? You either were there for the quake or you're not.
No, well, actually, that's because they did this thing, and called this the sign the pledge thing, the pledge to stay. They actually started that. No, I mean, it was started by Simon Barnett, and that's a bit of a giveaway, because he was one of the guys who led the kind of whole anti-smacking kind of like movement and stuff. So it's probably where he's coming from anyway. I think signing the pledge to stay, it does create the us and them thing, and it's
almost like
and I really don't like it.
It's like you either landed on D-Day or you were the soldier that turned up afterwards.
Yeah.
I haven't encountered any of that, to be quite honest. And what's remarkable, I think, is that, like, even just coming up here for the scrolls, the amount of Christchurch people, like we were talking about before, who've moved out of Christchurch.
Yeah.
That's always been the case. It's incredible to see so many Christchurch people up here, and it's kind of cool. And like,
the Auckland music scene is heavily influenced by Christchurch
and
musicians.
they're all really supportive of us. The support's been huge. I bumped into James Milne, for instance, last night, and had to thank him. He'd done a really, really beaut thing, which I haven't talked about, but like, they'd done a little gig and sent some money for, like to use as whatever, which I've used in the yacht club.
This is for Elsbar and stuff, right?
He sent me some money because I was doing the gigs in the yacht club, because we have no places to play in.
Yeah.
And he said if you needs to pay people or anything, or, so in the end, it went to paying some musicians for playing a night and fixing some gear. But that sort of thing coming from out of Christchurch, but by Christchurch people, I've encountered that all the time. And, last night, the amount of people last night who were so supportive.
Yeah, it was. There was people who,
so there's no us and them deal.
Okay.
No.
I think we went through an earthquake, and that's a pretty big deal. But
I think if you can't, if for whatever reason, if you can't, if you can't, sleep or hack it or whatever, if it's work or anything that, I don't think anyone should ever get down to anybody who can't, who's not staying there for whatever reason, and that's why I thought about the pledge thing that they set up. I kind of thought it did create a little bit of that, that kind of like, we're pledged to stay, so what about those that can't, it puts them on the outside, and I thought that those sort of things that, you can see what they're trying to do is trying to be positive, but actually kind of creates a sort of a weird negative backlash of you didn't want to stay. And it's like, I think you've got to do whatever you can do, and if you're if you've got to take the family and relocate somewhere, wherever that is, overseas or other places in New Zealand, that's fine. That's what you should do. And someone said to me the other day about whether Littleton was being minimalised in the media behind Christchurch, and I was like, I've never ever felt that for a second. I'm not worried about that. I don't think anyone's the slightest, Well,
the red zone gets all the publicity,
and it can have it,
I think the issue now is that, I've been aware of this for the last few months, and just even thinking about promoting the Harbour Union CD, was that the rest of New Zealand has become a bit sort of like a little bit earthquaked out with the fact that Christchurch has been so in the media. And that can be I thought that may be a bit of an issue for, people going, another thing for Christchurch. But the Harbour Union, just the amount of time that it took from, from the earthquake to recording to getting it out, it's only really sort of started to get a national profile now, which is no reason for any of the listeners not to want to go out and actually buy it. Because the fact of the matter is that all the money from it is going into charities, but it's also a really good CD.
It is, yeah.
It's got something vibey going.
We will hear a track from it very, very shortly, but just to slide away from the music just a little bit once more. So, talking about the harbour itself, there's some issues there, isn't there, with the Port Authority and what they're doing in reclaiming the land there.
That came and went. That's an issue that I think New Zealand's got, and we could go on for this for a long time, about democracy and the way that the government can override, or obviously in the earthquake situation where at that time, it was pre-Sarah, they had total power, and so that they were able to say, you go dump it, you don't need a resource consent, but in the end, they did need resource consents to dump stuff into the harbour.
But even prior to the earthquake, there were issues with that port where there was a lack of public access to the waterfront, which is what Aucklanders have experienced for a long time, and now suddenly going, well, now we have this waterfront. Yeah. But there was an opportunity now, though, wasn't there, for...
Well, it depends, they keep, in my understanding of the wharf situation, which would be really great to open up again, because it's been pathetic that they closed the wharves. When I was...
It was 9/11, wasn't it? 9/11?
Yeah, it was actually,
yeah. Ridiculous.
Well, there was that, but there was also the fact that that industrial area stuff and stuff, and a young guy died on the wharves, which was pretty serious. So they, but the thing is that a lot of the wharves have been compromised by the earthquake, and whether they, the idea of opening them up to public and putting stuff down on them would be great, but I'm not sure that how possible that is, because there's a lot of repair work to be done on them. It's not a simple simple task.
How's the fishing pier that they were set up? Is that still?
No, that's pretty out there. That was really bad. But
that was the only place you could go.
That was
the damning thing is that the fishing off the fishing pier, there was only like those horrible little sharky type dogfish. Yeah, so
I did catch a good sized cod there once, but it was kind of. I think it was riddled with worms.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It hopefully it's something they make use of at some point, and this would be a great opportunity to, I wish they could move the tank farm, as it's so romantically called, away around the corner where they're reclaiming. It is a bit of a bummer because all the stuff that's being taken out of Christchurch, all the rubble is coming through the Littleton Tunnel and along Norwich Quay, and so you've just got this kind of stream of trucks, and yet where are they going? But they just go by every few minutes. There is literally trucks every minute.
As regular as the coal train.
But it never stops, man.
Just getting off. The last thing about that was that the tunnel, which used to sort of be kept pretty clean and sort of resembled a decent man's urinal. Now sort of it's riddled with dirt, and it's it's really deteriorated.
I used to ride my scooter through that, and every day, and I'd look like I had eyeliner because I had this black soot around my eyes.
Yeah. Now I would be lucky to get out the other side and actually be able to have any vision whatsoever. I have to say, it's a dusty old.
And people when just after the quakes, when you're first coming back through the tunnel after each sort of serious aftershock, there is this kind of and then everyone gets real quiet in the car, and it's like, oh, we're in the tunnel, and yet the tunnel's supposed to be the safest place. It's like a hole drilled in a piece of wood or something like that. Apparently, it's the place that does not convince you when you for the first dozen or so trips through it. After each thing, you're sort of kind of and everyone's sort of the speed limit. They had to put a new sign up saying please observe the speed limit because you've got a 2-kilometre tunnel, and by the time you got out the other side, you're doing 120 k's.
And have they opened up the roads round to Sumner yet?
No, that'll never open again, man. The Evans Pass.
It's one of the greatest drives in New Zealand.
It's so bad. It's so.
It's crazy to think.
It'll never open.
When you're coming to Auckland, say, everything's normal, and I say normal in the sense of normal, and it's not there, and it won't be for a long, long time, and places that used to go are no longer accessible, and that's just the reality.
So what about a venue for you, Al? Are you going to get back into it?
Venues are going to be pretty hard to establish again because there's not that much around. If you take all that space that was good for artists and venues and things was cheap space, that's basically how it pretty much works. That's all gone. So looking around for space, which I have, is pretty tricky. And of course it's affecting the music scene big time because acts can't come to Christchurch because there's nowhere to play, which means that, for instance, Hector down in Port Chalmers isn't getting any follow through, and so for bands up here to come down, it's kind of serious in a way that people don't often realise the implications of just taking out something like a city and venues, and
take the Wunderbar as a great example. We launched the CD at the and the Wunderbar's still there, but and hopefully it'll open again. But this when they opened the Wunderbar again for the second time was when we launched the CD, and that was was it the end of April or May? End of May?
It was.
I can't remember. Very end of something, April or May, and it was brilliant. We all had this one place to go, because it was it had managed to reopen, and then after the June 13, kind of the other 6.3, the stairs fell off, and so there's no stairs.
Which is sort of
Is the supermarket there?
No, it's being rebuilt, eh? It is.
But if you take a venue like that, it's probably going to run into issues now. They're going to be very strong about egress, so exits, and probably a little bit for a while. But just because the safety issues become a huge thing as well. Yeah. But there are other places open, and there's the brewery, which is just recently opened, and they're doing outdoor.
Cool.
Yeah.
Filling the role of the
things.
The ducks,
definitely, almost probably the other day I thought, this is taking the Ducks' place, but then the Ducks are opening a live venue as well down in Addington. So slowly things are going to come back.
Is there an update on the actual Ducks?
Yeah. I talked to the Ducks. It's on the corner of Morehouse Ave and Lincoln Road, behind the people know that place. There's a mobile garage there, and it's going to be behind the mobile garage. It's opening at the end of October.
Okay, cool. But what about the original site?
Oh, right.
That's gone. That was pretty severely damaged. Maybe there was a bit of a battle going on between the owner and the arts centre. There was reasons behind that, but I think that you'd find that the Ducks was actually damaged probably a lot more than what was being talked about at the time. But it's kind of weird. Like I mean, my venue, for instance, there was nothing structurally wrong with my building. I was compromised by the building next door.
Yeah.
Then I got caught up in the owner and the insurance deal going down. A lot of weird things happened that almost can't be explained, but it's got to do with money.
Yeah.
It's very much got to do with money, and so that's that.
I guess we could talk for hours on this stuff because, but that undercurrent has always been there with Christchurch, with developers and the goings on in the CBD.
Well, it's got a fingers
and
crossed,
mysterious fires and
it's
just
Dave Henderson. Yep.
Yeah.
But the thing is that
the thing is to go and see you guys in Auckland City.
Because so there's the CD that we made after all of this, which is
playing
12 tracks. So we're playing at 1885 tonight.
Okay.
It's down near Britomart.
Near Party Central for those
quite close to Party Central. It's a great name, Party Central.
In fact, if you wanted to say Wednesday night in Auckland, this would be Party Central where we're playing.
Yes.
1885. It's really good bunch of musicians and
lots of harmonies. It's just a great thing that I haven't really been part of before, which is sort of where you get to you've got there's 12 people on stage and you have banjos and fiddles and guitars and stuff.
That's
and then
the Christchurch Flamo Pretties.
Well, you wouldn't want to think that that's what it was.
No.
Now we've got these things called songs. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Whoa! But where can you get a hold of the album?
I think are there record stores anymore? I think there are. Still record stores.
You can buy online. You can get it.
The Bottle Store in Littleton. If anyone's going past it, the Bottle Store sold more copies of this album than anywhere else. Although last week, we heard just after we got up here, the Bottle Store was robbed the other night in Littleton, right?
No.
And they stole 4 CDs worth of money. So someone out there's got $80.
They actually sold more than that. Stole more than that. But that's not the point.
Are they sitting right next to the little vodka shooters and those little
right there, right next to little vodka shooters?
Of course, I mean, you can get it online easy enough. If you go to
Fort Easton.
To Fort Easton, and
I think it's Fort Easton. Is it Facebook or is it forteaston.com?
forteaston.com, and lots of Marbeck's, all the record stores have got them.
Sweet.
And it did, when we first brought it out, like in the end of May, they all made it into the charts.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell did that happen?
Well, if I play it now, then it's probably bound to bounce right back into the charts.
Right back into the charts.
Brilliant.
Awesome. We're going to play the song.
Yeah,
we're going to play Ghost of This Town.
Yeah.
This is the one we played last night when we were opening the scrolls. And there was, we played this song by Marlon Williams from The Unfaithful Ways, and we had this poet get up, well-known poet Ben Brown, and we did this kind of took it down to this country growl in the middle, which is not on the album, and the guy did this poem about Christchurch in the middle of the song last night. It was pretty moving stuff, and it was a really cool thing to be part of last night. And so,
And of course, also last night, Delaney Davison was up for Songwriter of the Year, and he's got 2 great songs on the album. So. Straight away, I think we give an indication of the quality of people.
Solid gold.
The Harbour Union.
Lynn Puffin, Al Park, Harbour Union. See them at 1885 in Auckland tonight.
Tonight, 8 o'clock. Brilliant.
I'm the ghost of this town. I'm the ghost of this town. I say things I don't mean to people I don't know. I'm the ghost of this town. There's a hole in the ground. Oh, there's a hole in the ground. And if I knew any better, then I get to thinking of stopping and turning.